another one.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going?
Welcome in, everybody. As you can see, we have Mr. Kelvin here. I'm super excited for today. I've told the story of Kelvin so many times from being at the workshop when he was making, at that point, like 10 grand a month. And I asked him what camera he had, and he was like, I don't know, it's the one you recommend. And I love that story. I've told it so much because Kelvin like represents exactly what I think helps people be successful in this industry. Like he just puts in the work, he gets the clients, he doesn't worry too much about the technicals. So anyway, Kelvin, glad to have you in here. Thanks for jumping on.
Hey, I'm pleasure to be here. Believe it or not, I was listening to Jared's call last week, and there was a young lady on there, and Jared asked her the same question: "What kind of camera you got?" And she said, "I don't know, whatever you recommend in the course." So I'm not the only one.
You're not the only one, but she's probably also going to be successful is the good news. So
absolutely.
Kelvin, Rod wanted me to specifically tell you that he said hi and that he enjoyed meeting you in Vegas. I think, he's in the chat too. So anyway, awesome. Before we jump into it, everyone do me a favor and post where you're at, like location wise, and where your business is. And we can kind of, that'll give us a baseline for what to talk about. And I guess while you're doing that, Kelvin, you were a chef. How did you get into real estate media? Like what started that?
Well, COVID was started. I think I was reaching a point in my career where I kind of needed to transition into something else anyway. As I was getting a little older, because being a chef is a rough game as far as being on your feet all the time and the amount of hours you work. So COVID hit and got laid off. And during that time, we was getting close to got laid off right before the beginning of the baseball season in April. And come December, I got to the point I really didn't want to go back, but they hadn't called me back yet anyway. But I knew that was coming. I saw your ad on Facebook for the course, and I went ahead and tried it. That was in December, right before Christmas, actually. And so I got the course, sat on it for like a month, and then come January, I made the decision to try to really, to go for it. And so, I went ahead and, I started ordering my gear, and I had the time. So I actually made my own website, through YouTube tutorials, made my own website, and sent out my first DM on March the 1st of 2021. And because I'm kind of fortunate because I haven't been back to the kitchen since. So and really, if it hadn't been for the COVID situation, I probably, would have hedged my bets and played it safe and went back to the kitchen, and I didn't have to do that. And like I said, I've been doing this my own business ever since then.
Yeah, no, it's incredible how fast you grew too. I think before we jump into that, though, what about real estate? Because you didn't have camera experience, right? I mean, I think I know that about you. Yeah. What made you go like, I'm going to do that? That's like a big jump it's like a completely different industry.
Well, what made me do it was I think it seemed like, first of all, it seemed like something that I could probably do. Being a chef for over 30 years, there's still a little creative side to that, to doing that. And photography added a little bit of creativity to it. I like the fact that, just by going over the course, it just seemed like it was something that I might like. And then once I started doing it, I just liked it even more. So it was nothing pre-planned. It was, like I said, I didn't even know I didn't even know it was a thing until I ran across your course. And I said, when I started getting into it, and gratefully I had the time to really dive into the course at that time. And, that's really what did it. And then as I got into it more and more, it got more interesting and, started learning more things about it. And, and then the business started to grow.
Yeah. you got to, I think it was 80K in revenue in your first 8 months. Was that eight or 9 months, something like that?
Yes, by the end of, I started in March of 2021. By the end of the year, I made 80,000.
What? That's a lot for the first year. Obviously, that's 10K a month average from day one, which is crazy. Obviously, it ramped up and it was busier at the end and the start. But what do you think you did, or what allowed you to grow that quickly? I'm not talking about the course. Like, obviously, you had to learn this stuff, but like, what was it that you, Kelvin, did specifically that helped you grow, you think?
I mean, I really think, and I can't pinpoint it exactly, but I was really adamant about doing all the services as quickly as possible.
So you're talking about, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I didn't want to just do photos, even though I didn't know how to do video. I didn't have a gimbal. I mean, I didn't have a drone, but I was adamant about doing all of that as quickly as possible. So basically, within the first month, I found a way of being able to offer full services. So pretty much the whole time I was offering full services. So
Okay.
right. So what I did was, you know, found somebody, basically a contractor, somebody to partner with, to offer to do just my video and drone for me until I learned. And which really is what brought me to meet you, as went back when you had the first workshop.
Yeah.
I was kind of up against it because I had to learn video real quick because, you know, I wasn't using that guy anymore, so I had to learn video really quick.
That's right. Okay, so that was like, I mean, what was that? 3 or 4 months into you being in business? I'm trying to remember when that workshop was, because you were doing
workshop was October.
October. Okay, yes, you were well doing 10K a month, and you just that's why you were there, because you had to figure out the video to get rid of.
I had a video to do when I got off the plane and when I got back.
What'd you do to get clients? I mean, I guess you did the Instagram method. Was that what all was involved?
I did a little bit of Instagram method. You know, I'm not really, you know, I thought I was tech savvy, but I'm not in the new age tech. So I had an Instagram account, but never used it, anything like that. So I actually got a few clients on Instagram, but I actually used the Instagram method on Facebook. Because Facebook is what I was, you know, I was accustomed to using Facebook a lot. So that's where I got all majority of my clients from.
Nice. Okay, but you did you did. I mean, people use Facebook, they use Instagram, but you did that process. Like, you offered free shoots, and was that what you did basically?
That's right, exactly what I did. Yeah, I just moved it over to the Facebook, and what I did, I found a couple of realtor groups. So I kind of did some stalking in there, and found some, you know, whenever I saw like a new listing or something like that, I just would reach out to a lot of those agents on that group.
Gotcha.
And that's how I started.
Interesting. And so, like, you offered free, you said, when you saw those listings. Did you ever have any like hesitation on offering free? The reason I ask is a lot of people, you know, especially in YouTube, where it's front end, it's not necessarily people in coaching right now. There are some in here, but most people seem to have a hesitation to offer free. Did you have that hesitation, or what are your thoughts to somebody who's thinking about it?
I didn't have any hesitation in offering free at first. I mean, I just like I said, I just followed the step-by-step method of what you recommended, and you know, and it wasn't. I mean, matter of fact, I still offer free shoots today. You know, I did a little bit of, like last year, I decided to kind of venture off and try to do 50% off, and it don't work as good.
It doesn't, does it? Yeah.
It doesn't. It doesn't work as good. You know, it seemed like I got more clients that really just wanted 50% off more so than, you know, I don't know why, but it seemed like one of the free shoots was clients that was actually looking to stay and find a photographer more so than the ones
that were weird. So many people think the opposite. They're like, well, if you give free, you're going to get the cheap people. But I've seen the same thing with discounts. It's like you do a discount and that's when you get the cheap people. It's so weird.
Correct.
Yeah. So you did 80K the first year. I know I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit here. It's been a couple years in between, but you did just about 200K last year, and you're hiring a team. What's kind of like the future for your business? What are you looking to make happen?
Well, I decided that, you know, like I said, I think I should have reacted a little bit faster as far as like hiring goes.
Yeah.
But I decided last year that I need to go ahead and kickstart it and go to the next phase of the business. and I'm get to the point where I don't want to be shooting forever. I want to be more of a CEO method, a mode, and I actually want to get to the point where I want to be able to spread out over Maryland and in other parts of the country if possible.
Nice. Okay, so you've done it long enough to know you want to expand, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's nice too, because I mean, you can, as you know, this is more for people that are newer. You get options. You could do it yourself, and you can make great money shooting. But it's fun for a couple of years. It starts to get like, maybe I don't want to do another real estate shoot after that. And so it's nice that you have the option to hire. What are you, and take this any direction you want to. Someone's new to this. What are some of the things I guess you wish you would have known going in, or what's your advice to somebody who's just getting started?
Well, my advice is definitely try to offer as much services, try to be full service as quickly as possible, because like it's certain clients I got from day one that's still with me that I wouldn't have got them if I didn't do drone or I didn't do video, and I still got them today. That's one thing. Another thing is just be steadfast, and another thing I did is, like, once I started getting busy back then, I didn't have a VA, so I would have got a VA a lot sooner. Because what happened was, when I got busy, I stopped sending out DMs because I was busy. So I think that I could have did more back then, or I could have had a much bigger 2022 or something like that, if I had just kept that consistency of sending out those DMs and offers and things like that. The other thing is just continuously keep trying to learn. And, as you know, I've been to all the conferences. I've been to the one workshop. So I've always continued to try to invest in my growth and my education within the industry, and learning what I need to do to try to keep up and stay ahead.
Yeah. I love the VA one, especially because I think I have the same regret. So that's probably why I like it. I just waited forever. You did it faster than I did it by far.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me. So what were some of the, it's like when you're first starting a business, you probably remember it. We all remember feeling like imposter syndrome, or like it wasn't going to work. Did you feel any of that? And what's your advice to somebody who feels that, I guess, that's kind of a day one person?
I didn't feel it a lot, really. I mean, I was extremely nervous the first few shoots. Extremely. I think I remember. I think my second shoot, I think I called you guys in the middle of the shoot because my camera screen kept going off and I couldn't figure out why. And the only thing I was doing, how you get close to the back of the camera and it goes black. I didn't know that. So I'm freaking out. But you guys even helped me doing it in a bind. And but yeah, I think over the first maybe 2 or 3 months, that all went away about imposter syndrome, and then it was all about customer service and taking care. It's just really what I do, and I think that's the one thing that I carry over from my culinary and food service career is the customer service aspect of the job.
When you say that, what do you mean specific? Like, what about customer service are you thinking about, or like, what does that mean when you talk about customer service?
Well, being responsive, being of course polite, just like you would if you go to a restaurant and your server comes to the table, and how do they greet you? So that's kind of how I try to greet the homeowner or the seller or the client when I meet them at a property or something like that. I'm very responsive to whatever they need, but I also got to the point where once I got into it a little ways, I was able to also be able to gently direct them, I guess. They seem to like when I tell them things that need to be moved or put away in order to make the photos look better. And I think they kind of appreciate that because a lot of them don't know, and I think learning how to guide them, I think that's always been some of my biggest compliments, is when I help guide the homeowners and agents to making the photos look as good as possible. Yeah,
I mean, they're looking for, we kind of use the word like you consult them. It's service, but it's also like they are looking for you to be the expert. It's funny too, because, and I'm sure you remember this well, but I would have people be like, well, you're the expert, you tell me. And I'm like, I'm not the expert, and I didn't say that. But like you just learn. I love what you're saying about that, because that's a lot of people spend 80% of the time on their photos, videos, that kind of stuff when they're learning. And it's like, that's 20% of what makes your business successful. It's sort of service and, being willing to, there's a great book. You've probably read it, Kelvin, but I think actually we talked about this at one point, maybe not, but Amaze Every Customer Every Time is a super good book that I'd recommend everybody read, that, especially if you don't come from a customer service background. It's just so good. It's the story of like Ace Hardware's customer service. I was just talking with Kenny about it.
I sure did. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so good. It's just like it's fun. For me, at least, I mean, I can speak for only myself on this, but I like being in a business where you do better when you help people more. And that's what you get with real estate media. And it's just easy, you get to just be an easy to deal with good person. And then people are like, he's awesome, and refer you. Has referrals been a big part of your growth? Sorry, go for it.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I've never been a extroverted type of person. And I'm not really comfortable going and, talking to people and strangers and things like that. I had to overcome that to do this. And I'm actually proud of myself, because I've been able to do it kind of, without even thinking about it, to be honest with you. And then, but yeah, it really does. It does matter. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Have you always had that? Oh, go for it, Dale, first.
No, please.
I was going to ask, like, have you always had that mindset that you've had? Because it seems like all the stories that you've been telling, you kind of just had to figure it out, but you weren't afraid of figuring it out. It was like you started offering everything from the very beginning. We recommended the Instagram method, but you're like, well, turns out I'm not that tech savvy, but I know how to use Facebook, so I'm gonna use that same thing and use it on Facebook and stalk the clients there. And you're like, I have to learn video. I have a video as soon as I get back home, so I have to learn it while I'm at this workshop. So is that something that you've developed over the years, or is it something that you've just had and just, like you mentioned, you're not an extrovert, so I would assume that it's a little bit harder, but at the same time, it seems like you just did it because you had to do it, and you knew that that's what it took to get to where you are right now.
I think so. I think the circumstances brought out the qualities that I needed to bring out in order to have some success. I mean, I didn't want to fail at what I was doing. I didn't feel I was in a position to be able to fail. I mean, even though, I know I can go and work in somebody's kitchen right now if that's what I needed to do, but that's not the life that I want to go back to either. So that drive of making this work was definitely a factor in pushing me to do those things that I was uncomfortable doing. And also, seeing other people in the community doing things, and those are always great stories to hear, as far as like to get you kind of motivated to do certain things too.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like I should have asked it a little bit ago, but like, what is your why, if you don't mind sharing? Because I feel like every time we talk to somebody, I like knowing what their why was. And maybe it was you just didn't want to go back to the kitchen, and that's totally fine. But yeah, I think we'd love to know that.
Well, that's pretty much what it was. I remember like now, because it was all the rest. It was going to be better whether they go, because a lot of companies also took the opportunity during COVID to downsize. So with me being at the age that I am, and the money I was making at the time, I know I was a candidate to not come back. So that was also one of the factors there. But I remember it was in February. I was right out to the point of my website was almost finished. I was ready. I set March 1st as my date to send out my first DM. And I just basically, without to get in too much into religion, but I just praise God that, hey, if this is what I'm supposed to do, don't let them send me back to work. and of course I never heard from them, and and I've been grateful that I haven't not to have that again, that even the thought or the something come back to go back and get that check, know it's coming every 2 weeks. Yeah, that it worked out fine. It worked out great, actually.
Here you are.
It worked out great.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Making more money than I did when I was in any year that I was a chef. So
Mhm.
Yeah, and enjoying it, I would assume.
Oh, absolutely, definitely enjoy what I do. Yes, I love what I do. And
Nice.
now my vacation is going to Vegas every year. So
Speaking of that, Andrew just posted. I thought it was right as you said Vegas. I was reading what he said, so I had to pin it up here on the screen. But yeah, and I will say Kelvin has been to every single conference. He really does show up, and it's funny. I love that that's your vacation too, Kelvin.
yes,
Well,
yeah, okay.
Um, if anybody has, you got like 6 more minutes with us, Kelvin. Does that work?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, let's do this. If anybody in the chat has any questions for Kelvin, drop them in there, and I will pin them. Kenny, do you have anything else that you wanted to talk with Kelvin about in the meantime, or?
I mean, just highlight his whole attitude towards things, like meeting him in person at the workshop and then at the conference. Like, you can just tell everyone loves being around Kelvin just because you just have this positive vibe and just you're happy all the time. You're positive. You're ready to do whatever it takes. And I mean, when I asked you to come to this live, you're like, sure thing, like I'll do it. And I'm kind of a shy person, but I'll do it. And so you always have that positivity and within you. And so I'm sure that's what your clients see and why they refer you. So I just wanted to highlight that about you. Alex says, how do you use your VAs currently, Kelvin?
Well, that's interesting. I've actually, it's been a progression for me. I started using VAs mostly to do my social media because that was the thing, again, I didn't want to do or didn't know how to create content and things like that. So I actually got my VAs to do that first. And then just over the last year and a half, I started getting the VA to do Instagram method and also doing emails for me. And actually, I was still only doing majority Facebook method for my outreach, but then I basically transferred her over to doing IG about maybe 5-6 months ago. So I really just started doing IG fully just 5-6 months ago.
Yeah, you got a lot of upside from that too. Now that you got all the rest from Facebook, you got the whole nother wave from Instagram coming.
Exactly. It's been good. It's been really good too.
Yeah. William said, at what point did you feel that this was going to work and be successful? Was it, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year?
Basically 2 months. I made $53 my first month. And then the second month it was $1,200. Third month it was like $6,500. And then month 4 I got into, I think I did 12 or 13. So
which month felt the biggest for you? Like, what was the most exciting? Was it the 1,200 because you knew it was working, or what month?
It probably, it was the 1,200 because because at least my expenses are paid for now. So yeah, I mean that like to see that money come in, and that month 1 was amazing to me. It really was.
Yeah. Well, then I'm sure oh, go for it, Kenny.
I was gonna say, like, what helped your motivation to continue pursuing it? Because I would assume like some people would see $53 as a failure in the business and like it's not gonna work. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but my guess it's the repetition and the stuff that you were doing on month 1 that you realized you're like, this is gonna pay off, so I'm gonna keep doing this. And like, yeah, I only made $53 this month, but we'll see how next month is. But yeah, like, what was your thought about it? Like, what kept you motivated?
Well, that's really what it was. Because I didn't have expectations for instant success. I knew this wasn't a get rich quick type thing. But I mean, I did start to see some things happening, and then I actually liked going, and I started shooting some cool houses, and meeting a lot of people, and that kind of kept me going too. And then of course when I started getting a little busier, and then I thought my photography was getting a little better and things like that. That just helped me push me forward to kind of keep doing more things and getting into it like I am right now.
You were having fun, it seemed like.
Yeah. Oh, I was loving it. Yeah, loving
it. So when you did the 6,500, was it after that point, like, did it ever feel fake that it was going so well, or did you just had put in so much work that you're like, it makes sense why it's working.
Oh, I had no regrets in taking that $6,500. I did not feel that I did not earn it, or I duped people. No, I did not feel that at all.
Nice.
No, I went and did. I think I went and did what I needed to do, and just like, and I felt I was just as legit as any other photographer for a photography company that was out there.
Ooh, that's an interesting line that you said, because I think that's what it stops a lot of people is they feel, I mean, it goes back to the imposter syndrome, right? Like you didn't have it as much. And so the imposter syndrome itself is the thing that holds people back. Whereas you're at.
Oh, shoot.
Kind of froze. Yeah.
You froze.
That was a good question.
He was on to something.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'll try to remember try to think what he would say. But what was the last part that you said? Something about photography. You didn't feel that? You didn't have that imposter syndrome?
Right. Correct. Yeah, I didn't have imposter syndrome by being, by doing the things and having some success from it. I didn't feel that at all.
Yeah, and I think it's because you wanted it, so you didn't, I guess, hold yourself back by thinking that, what would others think, and like, am I actually a business owner? Am I a photographer? Things like that. You were just like, I don't want to go back to what I was doing before. This is something new. I'm liking this. I know that I want to get to whatever the goal was at that point, and you just went with that mindset and continued going.
That's correct, Kenny. That's exactly what it was. It was too. I mean, I had to think about the next goal that I was going for, and I didn't really have the time. I mean, I had to pay bills and things like that, so
Yeah,
I didn't have the time to go back and really.
You didn't have the time to overthink. You're just like, I need to do this.
I didn't. I mean, I already knew I was making mistakes, so I had to try to overcome the mistakes I was making, not to try to worry about those other things. And and continue to make the clients happy. So I mean, yeah, that's what it was. No time to think about all the other stuff.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you pair that with, I mean, like Marla's saying, I can see why clients want to work with you. Like if you have the work ethic and the willingness to put in the work, and then you're a person that's enjoyable to be around, it's a great combination. So it makes sense why you've done well in the business. And that's not discounting your work. You put in the work, but you're also like, it's just such a relationship-based business that if you're hard to work with, people don't stay. And so just by being easy to work with, it's like, that's the formula. Well, I guess what's that?
A lot of my clients would compliment me because they would say a lot of other photographers from the larger photography companies, they would go there, they wouldn't move anything, or they wouldn't touch anything, they wouldn't even open a blind.
Yeah.
And those are I listened to their complaints, and that is absolutely true. It's the little things.
It is, and they're easy too. You just have to like pull the string on the blinds, and smile once in a while. Well, let's end with this just for fun. What's the goal for your business in the future? Do you have like a revenue goal you want to hit, or like when you think about growing your business, what are you trying to do right now?
Well, since I first just started hiring photographers, my goal is $50K a month, and in the near future, my stretch goal is $100K a month. And I mean, at least hit $100K, not every month, but I want to hit those 2 milestones.
Love it.
Then I'm on my way.
Yeah, I mean, now that you're hiring, you're right on track. So I'm excited for you. That's so good. Well, thank you, Kelvin, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Eli. Thank you, Kenny.
Always great to see you. Great to talk with you. I smile way more when I'm around you, and I think that's just who you are.
We get excited whenever like
we've been talking about all week. We're like
coming.
Yep. It's been good. I'm very, very honored to be that you guys asked me on. So
absolutely
appreciate it.
Thank you, and have a great rest of your day, Kelvin.
Thank you very much, and you guys as well.
Thank you. See you
Bye,
soon.
everyone.
That was awesome. It's always
a great guy. It's always fun. As I was mentioning, like whenever we would see like the ticket, like Kelvin's coming, we'd get so excited, like we're gonna see him.
The conference or anything. I knew. It's true because Kenny's been working on a bunch of stuff today, and he was really busy, and he still came to the live. So that's how you know he's not lying about Mr. Kelvin.
It's true. I was like,
All right. Well, speaking of that, drop your questions in the chat. whatever you have on your mind, we'll talk about. I think just recapping from Kelvin's, what he shared. I think we always try to like make this a clear point, but it really just is the service you provide and the type of person you are while you're doing it. People have options. There's plenty of real estate photographers. Not that there's like tons of competition, but they have options, right? And so it's who you are and the way you run your business that determines whether they use you or the other person whose photos, videos, and everything looks identical, right? Sure, you can have a little bit better photos, but everybody's looks relatively the same. And so if you think about like from a business strategy standpoint, how you can differentiate yourself if you're selling virtually the same product. One, you could create a different product, but all of photographers and videographers are trying to outdo each other. Let them do that. It's way easier just to be, service first company. And like I mentioned, if you read Amaze Every Customer Every Time by Shep Hyken, it's a super solid book. And you just have to do stuff that people won't do and you'll get results that they don't have. Am I cutting out like crazy?
No, you're good.
Oh.
I think that's where the people get confused on. They think that they have to improve on whatever service they want to improve on. And I get that question all the time. It's just like, oh, I see people already having photographers, or I see people like already doing whatever. And should I even like should I even try with this client? It's like, no, like they're gonna. I mean, like you and I can make the same business, but if we're both different. So there's agents that are gonna be like more inclined to work with you, and others that work with me. But at the end of the day, like it's not about like who has the best service. I think it's like who has the best customer service. And how you can win them over like that. Customer service is key. Customer service is key. Yeah, totally agree, Chris.
Oh, this is a good question from Jeff. What's something most people don't do? It's like taking that on the service side of things, I think, is what you're asking, Jeff. My guess is, knowing you, that you would ask a good question like that. It's interesting. Like Kelvin talked about it a little bit, but I mean, he even mentioned, I know you do this, Jeff. Did I just cut out again? I have like
no.
Prime great
you froze,
right
but, like your voice stays, so like you're fine.
Well, of the two, I'd rather my voice continue, so that's good. Anyway, I mean, what Kelvin said was like, just he said it kind of as a joke, but I know he was serious about it. He said he just opens the blinds, right? And I think a lot of times we try to outdo what we think other people are doing, and that's fine. But it's just really interesting to see how bad the service is that a lot of photographers and just companies in general offer, right? And the best way is not to try to say what are they doing and try to compete with them, but it's try to put yourself in the realtor's shoes. And that's what we always try to think about. We were just having a discussion about this a while back, Kenny and I. It's like when someone, if you have a real estate agent that's stressed coming to you, it's like, don't get mad at them why they're stressed and being unreasonable to you. Like, go in their shoes and be like, well, what's stressing them out? It's like, well, they're homeowners on them. And so I think the easiest way to always deliver good service is to try to position yourself as if you were the realtor or the person you're working for and be like, what would they most value in this scenario? So if I think of myself as a realtor, right, and this, Jeff, so I appreciate the like softball question I can just, monologue on, but it is not a business about the photos or the video really at all. You have to have those. And so if you just think, how can I make this realtor's life easier, you will win. So it's like, what would they want? Well, number one is they really like to have an in-house photographer. Most realtors like that. They just can't afford it, right? And so why would they like that? Well, they want good availability. They want to be able to control how you interact with their sellers and how you present yourself and probably what you dress like and how you represent them. They want you to be attentive and quick when they have issues. So all those reasons that they would want an in-house photographer but can't afford it, you can do without being in-house, right? I mean, it's super easy to be like dressing professionally. And that means different things in every area, right? So dress professionally, be polite to the homeowners, be quick with replies, have good availability. It's just kind of interesting if you think from that perspective. It's like stuff that's like duh. And so, yeah, I think if you just think in that line, you won't go wrong. It's like just be the customer and solve their problem, and you'll make a lot more money than you would if you do the opposite. Yeah, I'll type the book in there right now.
I was muted. I started talking, but I like how that whole list didn't include anything like make sure you have the best video possible, make sure you have the best photos, make sure that you're doing like it matters. You just need good enough stuff, and we've talked about that multiple times. But yeah.
Which is so funny. Every time we have a guest on, I feel like we just go on the same tangent after about how it's all about service. But it's like you have enough people that you work with, or we've had the chance to work with, that say and you get to see why they're successful, and it's always their service. It's like, of course we're going to go off on that being the reason, because it is.
Yeah.
And it's just easy for, it's funny. It's actually more of a problem for people who are starting to do like 6 to 15K a month. That's really the danger zone, because what happens is they get into this business and they're like, yeah, it's all about service. I totally get that. And they develop an eye and an appetite for quality media and what that looks like. And when I say quality, I don't mean you should offer not quality. You absolutely should have good quality stuff. The problem is you'll start getting an eye for what you want it to look like that's purely preference. So what I mean by that is like, oh, that angle's not quite right. I want actually slightly over here. And then you overshoot like crazy. Or you spend so much time deleting photos in the evening. It's like an hour per shoot because you overshot. That all these things stack up. And it's like, if you step back and go like, what on earth am I doing? That's the only way you get clarity, because you didn't do that at the start and you grew so fast at the start.
Oh, and he froze. I think what he was going to say is like what made sense in the beginning, what you were doing in the beginning to get to the 6K at 15K a month, will also get you to the other months that you're, or the other revenue goals that you're trying to get. And so it makes no sense why you should pivot from a mentality of like, well, if I got here this way, then I should probably change it and I'll make it to whatever goal I have, when it already works. So, I mean, don't switch something that was already working. And I think that's what you were going to say, Eli, or we're saying.
I mean, I seem to switch Wi-Fi that was working and it's not working. So I don't know what to tell you. I apologize.
And he's gone again. But yeah, I think that's what he was going to say. That being said, let's go to another question until he's back. Let's see. Are you back? You're back. No, you're not. Jeff, hit me with a question. Where are the questions? Here's one. Would it be smart to hire a photographer or editor right off the bat? I would recommend just hiring an editor from the very beginning and the photographer when you hit 15K a month. Are you back? You're back. Welcome.
I'm temporarily. You never know. It's going with the wind. Sorry, everybody. I'm not at home. I'm in an Airstream in the backyard of an Airbnb, and the Wi-Fi is atrocious. Anyway, I'm glad you joined, Kenny, today, because if it would have just been me and Kelvin, I would have shut off in the middle and just left Kelvin there, and then just now. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. Jeff said, what are some examples of that help your clients remember you? And so the paint the shed story was just like a quick reference for everybody that hasn't heard that story. Basically, I had the opportunity where an agent was in the backyard at a shoot, vicious.
I guess I'll tell this story. He had an agent, if I can remember. He had an agent who, I think Eli got to the shoot. The shed wasn't painted, and in order for the photos to basically, I think the homeowner wanted the shed painted, and the agent was trying to paint it as quick as possible, and Eli had gotten there, so the agent was already stressed by the homeowner, and so instead of Eli just being like, well, I'll just sit back and it is what it is, I'll just come back another day or whatever, Eli decided to just help the agent and actually painted the shed with the agent. And I think it turned into like a story that the agent started referring to other people and just basically saying like, yeah, Eli helped me paint the shed. So it just kind of shows just like doing the little things that don't make sense. Like as a real estate photographer, you're not supposed to paint a shed, or you shouldn't have to. But if you can, why not do it? So that's exactly. Oh, you want to? You want somewhere else?
I moved. We had to solve the problem.
Where was I going? But sometimes you'll do things that you shouldn't have to do, but what matters is what if you're going to help the agent, if you can help them, might as well just do it, because that's going to go a long ways for you and your business.
Yeah, I missed what Kenny said because I'm giving you guys the unprofessional.
I told the right story of the shed.
Some other stuff, Jeff, that I Kenny may have talked about this too, but it's like most of the time it's going to be in a couple different buckets. So one is availability. I need to shoot tomorrow. Can you make it happen? You got to move, heaven and earth to make that happen if possible. That's a time where you can go out of your way. Another one is cleaning the property. You guys can't do this every shoot, right? And that's not the point that I'm trying to make. But like when you have the opportunity, you get to a house and the house is filthy And whatever the circumstance is, maybe it's just filthy. Maybe you get there and it's like, a single parent with multiple kids. Like, you can tell they have their hands full and it's important to them that this property sells, but they just can't clean it. They don't have the time. It's like, if you have no shoots for the next 3 hours, spend an hour and a half cleaning, right? There's nothing that would stop you. And yeah, you're not paid to do that and it doesn't make sense, but that's where you really make it's like the cliches. It doesn't make sense. It makes you dollars, right? Like, it's going to make a client loyal and it really goes a long way. In the Amaze Every Customer Every Time book, one of the things that stuck out to me the most, it's like the only thing I can remember from that book, and I think it sums up the book well, is at Ace Hardware, they had this policy where if someone came in and they didn't, we were just talking about this the other day, Kenny and I actually, and they came in and Ace Hardware didn't stock it, the people would go to Home Depot, the Ace Hardware employees would go buy it at Home Depot and then bring it to the person, right? And it's like, that doesn't make sense, but it crafted like the culture of that business in a way that I think made them really successful. Because if you're in a business where service matters, going crazy on the service side and like maxing out that lever, if you will, is going to be a huge lever of growth for your business. And most people won't do it, but it's easy to do. It's just like, what would somebody that's kind of lazy, not really caring too much, and in a hurry not do? It's like, well, most of that, right? And so you just do what they wouldn't do, and you'll get the things they won't have. And it's not always just money, right? Like, sure, you'll make a lot more money, but you also have like better client relationships and more fun doing, which at least I think that. Okay. What other questions do we have in here? Ooh, this is a good one. Welsh Media said, I'm an independent photographer for a broker while juggling a 9-to-5 and growing my business, debating quitting to free up my schedule and focus fully. For me, the way I answer this, it always depends on your exact financial circumstance. And I think being willing to quit is great. I would just take stock of what you have. Like, what are your expenses? What are your bills? Same thing, right? What is your bank account balance? And just kind of do some math and what it would look like. I think going all in is really important, but sometimes going all in just means working way too much. That's a different type of all in. And so I would just take stock of what you have, and you don't want to be too practical. You don't take action, because the practical route is never to start a business, right? It's to, go to school, get a job, work your way up. That's like the practical route. So I don't think that's always the route, but within starting a business and within doing things that are quote unquote more risky, there's still a more practical option. And I think you have to balance that, or at least it's wise to balance that. So I think, especially because you're already shooting for a broker, you already kind of know the business, I think you'd probably be able to get clients quickly, but I would start by going all in with the extra hours that you do have right now.
You could also just get a part-time job, or see if that 9-to-5 could turn into just a part-time position for you to still get some income while you're building your business, and then going from there. Once you're able to replace that, then you're all good. But yeah, I think what Elo was saying is like, it really just depends on like your goals, like your expenses, how much money you have in the bank, like how much you're willing to risk, if that makes sense. But yeah.
Well, and the cool thing too, I mean, so we have Kevin on the live in the past, right? And everybody kind of knows Kevin, that he just sort of went all in. But Kevin's also a smart guy. He had a good job before. He saved up some money. So he didn't go, I have $0, a family, and I got to figure this out, right? He was practical within his risk. And so I think that's important. Now, did he take a risk bigger than I probably would have? Yes. Did it pay off and he grew faster than I did? Absolutely. And so you just have to know yourself and know what you're looking to do. But the cool thing is, and we kind of talked about this a minute ago, my general advice, like, let's say you're in coaching and I'm working with you specifically. I'm going to say that I would encourage you to take the risk of time, give up more hours, work more before you take the financial risk of quitting the job, because most people can kind of quit their job after they replace their income, unless you make a ton of money, right? But then if you make a ton of money, you probably have some savings, hopefully. So just kind of that balance. But the nice thing too is, like, for most people, and this is not for your question specifically, I just like kind of took it further at this point. For most people, let's say you're making $100K a year salary, pretty good salary, right? I mean, depending on where you're living, but generally like pretty good salary. If you're able to make $2 or $3 grand a month on the side, I mean, that's like half of your take home after taxes anyway, just on the side. So you can at least start. And I think that's a really practical way to do that. Ooh, this is a good question. I saw this a couple times. Should we be concerned with AI and all the apps coming out that are making it easier for realtors to shoot their own photo and video? William, especially when I first started my business, it's funny because like AI is obviously a little different. But 10 years ago, I had the fear of like that it was just becoming easier to be a photographer. Like cell phones were getting better and better, right? And it's funny, the more tech that's come out, the better it's been for real estate media businesses because there's more media needed. So what I mean by that is, when I first started, we only shot photos and videos were even pretty rare. It's kind of interesting. People did them, but they weren't common like they were now. So I just did photos. And there was these companies that would like edit your photos for you as a realtor, and realtors would, the cameras were getting better. And I was like, man, this is going to suck. They're just going to take their own photos. And then you fast forward, and it's like, well, no, they still don't take their own photos. They also pay us to shoot videos now. And floor plans are way more common, and virtual twilights and virtual tours, all these new services that came out since when I first started, these weren't even there, right? So in the industry, the more tech that's come out, the better it's gotten. And here's the even funnier part. There's some.
Oh no, I actually don't know what he was going to say about that, like later on. We'll see if he comes back, but my thoughts on this too, there's like just think of your life. There's a lot of things that you could be doing, but you outsource it to someone. Me, for example, I could mow my own lawn, but I pay somebody to do it. So like there's companies for that. There's big companies there's the agents that value their time as well. So they're not going to spend the time to shoot the photos and learn where to send their photos to edit and deal with that. Like they just want somebody to do it and deal with that. There's real estate media owners who outsource their photos and videos because they don't want to deal with the editing themselves. And so once again, like I think it's just going to be, like I was saying, easier for us, the business, but they're still going to be using somebody because they value their time and they don't want to do it themselves. I don't know where you were going with your thought, Eli. I just started spitting my own opinion on it.
I mean, I heard it also just like cut out in and out, and you said exactly what I was going to say, so I appreciate
it. For sure. I think you're frozen again. Alrighty, so who's next? Do you see a question you like? I don't see any questions. Should we outsource?
Back?
You are back. You are back. Should people outsource the editing? The question or the answer to this is yes. You should outsource video editing. Who do you recommend to make a website to launch this type of business? I mean, a lot of people that we've coached, I don't even recommend them make a website. What I tell them to do is just use Spiro, and it's a software that we use to deliver our media and all that. But there's a way for them to make like a proper website where they can show off like all their photos, videos, and things that they've done in the past. And then, no website. And then essentially like Instagram or social media is going to be your website because you're already showing your portfolio. And that's the whole point of the website. And if they want to see like your pricing and all that, you should already have that built with your packages and all that in Spiro, for example. And so that could act as your website. So no need to build one from the very beginning. He keeps leaving. Oh, you're muted now.
Listen, I'm doing my best. I just moved closer to the router. It's still not going to work. It's like, I think it's one of those the dish-based internets where when it's cloudy, it doesn't work, and it's cloudy. So anyway, yeah, I have that dial-up connection. Well, should we call it a day, Mr. Kenny?
We'll call it a day.
Well, thanks everyone for being here. I apologize for my connection. It's ridiculous. Anyway. It's worked all day. I've been in meetings, every time I haven't really needed great internet, I've had it. So, I'm giving you a walkthrough of this great Airbnb that has terrible internet. Anyway, thanks for your time. Hopefully, Kelvin's story was motivating to you. I think he's just an awesome guy. He's been part of our community for a while. It's just cool to see him from the start. Now, a few years in business, doing $200K in revenue last year, hiring a photographers, growing his team. So, I think the difference between, if you haven't started, you and Kelvin is, like he said, he took action. And so just take that to heart, whatever that means. Taking action doesn't mean you go like start shooting today, right? It means just taking the first step. And I think that you take enough steps. I posted something on my story the other day. It's basically it doesn't take motivation to continue once you have momentum. And so, like Kelvin, he doesn't have to go like, oh, am I motivated to do the business today? No, he's just getting paid and going to shoots. And so sure, he has to have motivation to like hire somebody and do stuff like that. But for those of you that haven't started, it's so much easier once you've started than before you've started. So just keep that in mind. If you've especially been here for a while, listening to my content, my lives, I mean, first of all, I appreciate you. But second of all, like, I want this to be something that helps you, not just takes your time like Netflix. It's supposed to be Netflix that ends up paying you. And so put the work in. If you haven't talked to our team about what coaching could look like for you specifically, oh, look at you were on it with that link, Mr. Kenny. Thank you. Go to that link and talk with our team. I've been lucky enough to have put together a great group of people, and what we do for a living is help people start and grow their real estate media businesses. And so just chat with our team. They can cover, your market, make sure where you are is going to work, because you just have to have a certain number of people around you. And we can strategize with you around that. And then also what your goals are, because, real estate media is not a great way to make $1 million your first year, right? I don't know what is. Some people say there are things that do, but to me, those just sound like get rich quick. So if that's what you're looking for, like, this is not the industry for you. But if you're someone that's willing to put in work, and that, or you'd like that work you put in to be rewarded based upon the work itself, not just, be paid a wage, then it could be a good option. But chat with our team about, your specific situation. Encourage you just to book in, don't be shy. They're great people. I don't have people on my team that are mean or anything like that, because I don't think that helps anybody. Our customer service attitude continues over here on this side of the business. So let's see. I guess that's it. Book in, and appreciate you being here. Have a great rest of your week. And if you're new and you're still not sure, go binge watch all of my free content. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I'm biased, but start with that, and we'll see you here very soon. Kenny, thank you for carrying it when I was.
Of course, anytime.
We'll see y'all later.